So there's been some pretty big news lately. China has recently put a lander on the far side of the moon. This is exciting for a lot of reasons, but there's two really big reasons that stand out to me. The first is that we're basically seeing the beginning of a new space race. China is trying to expand into space with orbiters, landers, and rovers, and even manned missions. They want to militarize space and establish a permanent manned base on the far side of the moon. It's been said that China will make the symbolic gesture of uprooting and replacing the American flag that was left there 50 years ago, representing China's rise to dominance in space, and their replacement of the Americans, who gave up on their manned space program years ago. Now, if you know anything about the American attitude towards symbolism and pride and dominance and China, you'll know that this is, how should I say, unacceptable. As I record this, American and European space agencies are planning a return to the moon and a return to manned spaceflight. NASA has made public statements about a permanent manned lunar base of its own, with orbiters and research stations. And everyone, from China to the US, wants to use the moon and these permanent lunar bases as a staging point for missions that probe deeper into the solar system. They want to use the moon as a launch point for missions to Mars, and to the asteroid belt, and to the deeper solar system, like the moons of Jupiter and beyond. So the space race is heating up again, and it's really exciting and awesome, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Now, the second big reason to get excited about this news is that now we have a long-term biological experiment on the moon. The Chinese lander, called Chang'e 4, carried a small, self-contained habitat module. Within this little tiny habitat module, described as a little tin can, there are several organisms. Potato seeds, which are soon to germinate, rock cress plants, which are model organisms in the Arabidopsis genus, and silkworm eggs, which will eventually hatch into living silkworms. The idea is that the plants will consume carbon dioxide and produce oxygen, and the silkworms will consume that oxygen and produce carbon dioxide, and it'll be a nice little self-contained, self-sufficient ecosystem. The whole experiment is being watched with little cameras, and it's all going on in a sealed chamber that simulates an earthly environment, with one major difference: gravity. We'll be able to study how the moon's much weaker gravity affects the development, growth, and reproduction of these organisms, which is obviously an experiment that cannot be conducted on Earth. Liu Hanlong is the chief director of the experiment, and the vice president of Chongqing University. Mr. Hanlong said, quote, "Why potato and Arabidopsis? Because the growth period of Arabidopsis is short and convenient to observe, and potato could become a major source of food for future space travelers. Our experiment might help accumulate knowledge for building a lunar base and long-term residence on the moon." Unquote. So, if you couldn't tell, I think that this is really cool, and it's so exciting and awesome. We are at the dawn of a new space race, and we're beginning 2019 with an incredible experiment. There is now life on the moon, and even though it's in an Earth-like habitat sealed in an airtight container, the life inside is still exposed to lunar gravity and lunar sunlight, unfiltered by the presence of a thick atmosphere. If this experiment shows that plants and animals can live in a lunar environment, then, theoretically, we can build a moon city, and that city can grow its own food. This could sustain not just future lunar colonists, but perhaps even future colonists to Mars, and deeper in the solar system.